My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 429 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And warning, this podcast may contain information in a tuneful way. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like a direct with a virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Whitney Belvedere.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, unfortunately, Chrissy is dealing with homeowners-related issues. Oh, things I don't have to worry about because I do not own a home. Then you miss out things like this entertaining show that I have going on with the kids waiting for their soccer ball to eventually float back to shore so they can retrieve it from the pond outside. So it's almost there. It's almost there. See, I told you if you just waited long enough, it would float to shore and you would be able to reach it. Oh, they're so close.
Ooh.
So close. Come on, kids. Yeah, there we go. Woo!
Yeah.
It's almost like watching an actual football game. Gotta do something. Inter doesn't play for a week. So, speaking of which, speaking of Italian things, especially Milan with us to join this week's. Really, it's going to be a therapy session. Returning to the Fiveish family room. How's that? Is DJ Nik.
Good. Yes.
Hey,
Gold
everyone.
Standard has a theater in the VIP lounge. We're the Fiveish fam, so we have a family room. So.
Yes.
That
Pull up
definitely
a spot
sounds
on
very
the
nice.
couch. Don't mind
Yep.
the dog hair.
Yeah.
I'll try not to, but yeah, thank you so much for having me back on this particular episode. I was really looking forward to actually getting to talk to somebody about this because unfortunately my circle of friends do not watch this show. So,
And it's all you can only do so much in the chat. You can only type so much and post GIFs and memes to get the point across.
yeah, you can't have like more of a deeper conversation, if you will. So yeah, really glad you guys invited me on. Thanks so much for the invitation, and really happy to be here.
Yay! So, first up, a little bit of news. Apparently Disney / Marvel / Lucasfilm is taking a page from the BBC when it comes to Doctor Who. Because they have announced that several of our Disney Plus series are going to be released on 4K, UHD, and Blu-ray.
About time.
In nice fancy steel boxes with fancy art and extras on the stuff. And yes,
I mean, there's a few things from Marvel that aren't in that list yet, but I'm hoping down the line that they will add them.
Yeah. So for now, we are getting Loki season 1, September 26th, WandaVision on November 28th, The Mandalorian season 1, December 12th, and The Mandalorian season 2 on December 12th. And all 4 of those will be available to pre-order beginning August 28th.
Internet servers, be prepared for mass clickage.
Yeah, and looking at the art for the packaging for all 4 of them, it's like, this is why we still have physical media, because it's so pretty.
Yes. It's so shiny.
It looks so good.
I can't really like my living area right now. I don't have room, but like I want them anyway. Like I will find somewhere to put them.
So, and they've given us an idea of some of the bonus features that are going to be on Loki. because that's the first one to be released, including designing the TVA, the official TVA orientation video, a gag reel, which I'm sure was going to be lots of fun, deleted scene, a couple deleted scenes, and assembled the making of Loki, which is on Disney Plus, but still, but yeah, it's going to be, it'll have subtitles in English, Spanish, and French on the 4K, and then English, French, and Spanish on the Blu-ray as well. And apparently Marvel's already hinted that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming eventually, probably next year. That's probably when we could start expecting some of the others, like Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Hawkeye,
She-Hulk,
what
Miss
if
Marvel, so and according to this website that I'm reading, that we have linked in the show notes, they have a couple editors updates, and one of them is they said, I've confirmed with industry sources that all these new titles, Loki, WandaVision, Mando season 1 and season 2, are all, as well as the recently announced Prey from 20th Century Studios, will be coming to international markets. Exact markets and details are to be announced, but there will be international SKUs around the world. So
Yay!
You're not being left out, Nick.
Well, I was going to, no, you know what? I would not be surprised if we get this stuff like 3 years later compared to when you guys get it, because that tends to be the case. I mean, I just even saw like the catalog on Disney Plus. We only got a couple of the Spider-Man movies on Disney Plus like 2 days ago, when I believe that in the States they've been there for like months. So it would not surprise me, because Europe is kind of always tends to be late in catching on. But I'm glad that Disney has actually finally caught on. I guess maybe at first they didn't want to release all this stuff because they were worried they wouldn't get as many subscriptions to Disney Plus. And it's like, we're going to make it super exclusive to where if you want to watch this stuff, you have to have a subscription to Disney Plus. And I guess now they've caved in and realized that you can still make money by selling it, and because there are folks out there who are, collectors and completists when it comes to stuff. Because if you have all the MCU movies, you probably also want the MCU TV shows right by there on the shelf as well, I guess.
Yeah,
especially when they look that pretty.
Yeah,
agreed.
And especially if there's a little thing called internet issues and you can't have access to your Disney Plus subscription to stream. Yeah, slight little problem.
And can you imagine then when you get like the major huge box set once, like in 2040 or 2050, which is technically when apparently the MCU will be over, the huge box set with everything in it, that would be insane.
Ooh, insane, but oh so nice.
Yeah,
exactly. You'd like a chest just to have all that stuff in there.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's like this entire bookshelf is nothing but Marvel.
We have not a walk-in closet, but a walk-in Marvel DVD. So I don't know what
Disney's got their vault. I'm gonna have mine.
Yes.
And then, unless you have BBC TV, unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to watch this. But the proms, you remember the proms? Yeah. Apparently, there's proms this coming Monday, a week from today, the 28th of August. So it's proms number 57. The theme is fantasy, myths, and legends. And yes, it's going to be an evening of orchestral fantasy and adventure featuring classic soundtracks from film, television, and gaming's greatest myths and legends. And it's going to include music from The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, His Dark Materials, My Neighbor Totoro.
Nice.
Yeah, The Duel of the Fates from Star Wars, among others. So, but yeah, it's going to be apparently broadcast on BBC TV. So, hopefully, we find it somewhere for for us non-BBC TV folks after the fact.
I think they did that before. I think I remember watching when they did Doctor Who back in 2013. I think I remember.
Could be. So I know I caught one of them once. It was just the audio feed. So I don't know where I came across it, but
that might have been. It might have been like on the BBC radio.
Yeah.
Because that's free for us.
Yeah. Could be. So, but I stumbled across that. I was like, oh, Proms! I thought that had died.
It will never die. I don't think. I mean, it's great. It's a great concept, I think.
Well, yeah, I just thought maybe it had gone, the way of the dodo because of like the pandemic or something, and they just were like, yeah, maybe we'll revive it eventually. So,
and interestingly, Rachel, you mentioned My Neighbor Totoro. I don't know if it's the same over there in the States, but now over here in theaters, they're re-releasing all the Studio Ghibli films again.
Yeah,
yeah.
They do not necessarily all of them, but usually the major theater chains will do like over the summer they will do a Ghibli fest and do a handful of them. So, and I know Chrissy and Jared try to go to at least one of those every summer. So, yeah, because
there was a whole commercial today. Because funny enough, I was at the theater today watching not Marvel but DC, watching Blue Beetle at the theaters today, and that was one of the things that they were promoting was this slew of movies from the studio. Amongst them, My Neighbor Totoro, which I know did very well for them.
Yes, it did. So that is really it for news. We do have some housekeeping. We do have a new episode of Gold Standard out in the feeds for you all with episode 83 with the King's Speech. So the fun discussion because it's like, hey, it's like half of the 12 actors that live in the UK are in this movie. So
I'm gonna admit I own that movie, but I've never watched it. I want to, for some reason I don't. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's pretty wild watching it now with all these faces, and I'm like, wait, who? Okay, it's like, wait a minute. Bellatrix Lestrange is married to a version of Mr. Darcy. The king is Dumbledore.
Brain having a hard time making this work.
The Archbishop of Canterbury is, depending on what your fandom is considering what we're talking about tonight. He's either the Metatron or Professor Yana / the Master. So it's like, hold on. All these British people. So,
and Winston Churchill is Peter Pettigrew.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like, this is really wild. So. Funnily enough, I don't think I mentioned this when we were recording. They actually adjusted the shooting schedule for the King's Speech around the filming of Harry Potter.
Makes sense.
So that Michael Gambon, not so much, because obviously he does not have a lot of screen time in this film or the last two Harry Potter films. But obviously Helena Bonham Carter is a bit more prominent in this movie. So yeah, they adjusted the shooting schedule for her Harry Potter shooting schedule. So
that was for the Half-Blood Prince, right?
No, at this point, I don't know what they would have been. Yeah, so they would have been doing Deathly Hallows. So yeah,
right. So, yeah, makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, she had to make sure she got blown to bits by Molly Weasley, and then go and help the king get over his stutter. So and then over on our YouTube channel, I have put up all the stuff I got at Gen Con. So if you listen to our Gen Con recap, that's great, but this time you watch this and you can actually see the stuff. So not just in pictures. So that is up on our channel. for anyone to watch. All right. Next up, feedback. It's feedback from Shalane. Spoiler alert for some Secret Invasion stuff, although at this point, if you get spoiled, I'm sorry. So I don't have much to say about Secret Invasion, but it was fun that Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury has been around the MCU for 15 years. Like, yeah, he's been around since the beginning. Said I thought they would show post credit for the Marvels, but they didn't. Yeah, it's too. If the finale of Secret Invasion and the Marvels were closer together, I could see them maybe doing some sort of post credit, but we're still several months away from the Marvels in theaters. So it's like, what's the point? Because people might forget between now and then. So
yeah, because the Marvels only comes out like in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right in the middle of the summer, folks. Yeah, folks have a short memory, I think, and like, oh,
yeah,
I see. Yeah,
yep. So speaking of Halloween and Haunted Mansion, I saw the new Haunted Mansion. And it turned out better than I thought it would be. It's funny that 20 years ago they had the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, and 20 years later we get a remake. Not necessarily a remake; it's a different story, but it's the same property that they're using, IP. So. There were tons of Easter eggs. It was like the ride at the parks, and I do love me some Haunted Mansion. So, another fun fact I realized 20 years ago: both Haunted Mansion and Pirates were released for the 80th anniversary of Disney, and a remake of Haunted Mansion for the 100 years of Disney. Also, the first Pirates did a re-release in movies for the 100th. Yeah, they've been re-releasing some stuff in the theaters, including the first Pirates, which having an anniversary this year. So it may be on the calendar for an upcoming episode. Hint. Now that back to Haunted Mansion, my friend is obsessed with Haunted Mansion. She has tons of in her collection of the Haunted Mansion, and her husband did one of the stretch portrait characters. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna plan to dress up as one of the other portrait characters with my bestie when we make it to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween celebration. Now I'm still being patient for you girls to talk about movies based on the Disney attractions. See my previous hints about pirates. I read that Disney's gonna do movies based on Space Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain. I don't know why they would do something based on Space Mountain. They have Star Wars.
But, yeah, it seems a little bit counterintuitive.
Considering at one point they reskinned the Space Mountain at Disneyland for Star Wars. So it's like, it's just Star Wars. As much as I love Space Mountain, and the one at Disneyland is way better than the one in Florida. The seating is way more comfortable. Big Thunder Mountain. I mean, it's been a while since Disney's done anything Western related, I guess. So could be interesting, maybe. So we'll see. Who knows what Disney it can be very hit and miss when they do stuff based on their attractions. I'm looking at you, Country Bear Jamboree movie. Nightmare fuel. She finishes, I was kind of sad that Agent Hill got killed, but she's been in the MCU for a long time. Yes, she has. All right. And then feedback from Aaron. His subject line says, "Nobody calls me Nick." Well, nobody calls Nick Fury Nick. We call DJ Nik Nick.
Now I'll feel all kinds of awkward.
Yes. Nobody calls me Nick with a C and a K. How about that?
That'll do.
That's hello, my Fiveish hosts. Full disclosure, I'm writing this as I watched the finale before you shared your thoughts. Why? Because I'm so irritated with the show and the Marvel shows as a whole that I need to vent. Maybe even whine while sipping some wine. Overall, I feel like the shows just keep getting more and more tedious as they progress, and the main reason why I'm getting so irritated is that these shows are becoming so essential to understanding the movies. It's easy to revisit movies, but it's going to feel so taxing to have to sift through the shows to remind myself of details in the future. My primary example for complaint is the Miss Marvel series. Don't get me wrong, I think that's one of the strongest series. But for anyone walking into the Marvels, the movie relies on people having watched and fully remembered the TV show, blah, but onto this show. Secret Invasion feels like the middle chapter of a story we never got introduced to. Instead of there being build-up, we're dropped into a non-existent conspiracy that becomes a conspiracy because Marvel made it up and forced it upon us. If we're supposed to be in the multiverse saga, why are imposters being shoehorned in? Why not wrap up the multiverse with Phase 5 and devote the entirety of Phase 6 to Secret Invasion? That's not to say there isn't anything good here, because I would love to see a movie devoted to Olivia Colman's character. Hell yeah. Just being the ruthless anti-hero that she is. Side note, she might be a good fit for the Punisher. I think What If Season 2 should show them on a date, swapping torture stories and falling in love. Oh my. Oh, back to my negativity. I also hated that this was the ending, except that I remembered that in a few years we'll get Avengers Secret Wars. Again, Kang or Skrulls. Marvel, please pick a lane. I feel like Marvel has been losing its footing since Endgame, and their material is getting very hit or miss. The hits are high, but the lows are low. I just wish they'd focus less on TV side stories and focus more on the main movies. Like Bilbo, Marvel is starting to feel stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread. Hopefully I'll be more positive next time, but until then, take care, Aaron. Some very valid points there, Aaron.
I will agree with Aaron. I will say, Aaron, you can always go completely insane like I did and decide to rewatch everything in timeline order just for the heck of it. You know, I mean, you can do that. It will take you a while, but it's always very enlightening, I think. But I do tend to agree with Aaron as well. You're having recently rewatched Secret Invasion. It is a little bit middle of the road, and it's kind of like, why are you here with everything else that we're doing? And it opens up so many things that we have to deal with on top of what we already have to deal with as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
well, it's like, I mean, they may end up doing like what Aaron said and picking a lane, but I mean,
they might have to, seeing what happened with Jonathan Majors.
Exactly. It's like, well, it's like we got the whole thing with Jonathan Majors, so it's like, because of Kang's powers, in theory, we could in universe we could justify changing the actor, right? And not even acknowledge it, because it's supposed to be like that's something that Kang does, is he can change the way he looks if he wants to. Although every Kang we've seen has Jonathan Majors' face, but still, it's not out of the realm for there to be a variant of Kang or whatever that's got a different face. Right. But yeah, it's like, but it's like, yeah, they could set Kang aside until they figure out the whole Jonathan Majors thing, and then stick with the Secret Invasion Skrulls, because like we said, we don't know. We know there's still a lot of Skrulls out there. Not everyone went and joined up with Gravik. There are probably plenty of Skrulls of the million that came to Earth that are just living their lives, passing as humans, and don't really give a crap. They're just happy to have someplace to live and, do whatever. Have a job, raise kids, have a garden. I don't know. But we also don't. We also don't know how many other Skrulls went through the Super Skrull process that may have gotten away before Gravik decimated the population that we did see. So there could be other powered Skrulls out there. And we also don't know if anybody else has been replaced.
True.
So it's like there's so many things, and that's the thing with the idea of the Skrulls and being able to change faces. I think we could easily go down that route a lot sooner.
Yeah,
because of it just play up the the face changing thing. You can do all sorts of stuff with that until we figure out the whole Jonathan Majors, are we keeping him or are we not? But At the same time, right now, as we're recording this, the strikes are still on, so it really is a moot point at this junction. So because there's nothing being done.
Yeah.
So,
or I was thinking too, which scroll survived that has the major axe to grind and wants to make everybody's life a living, you know what?
But also, I guess, does play to what Marvel has done in the past, and since doing stuff and then tucking it away for later. I mean, we still have the White Vision thing to address, and that has not been addressed in a while. We still have tons of other stuff that we've seen. It's like that has not been resolved yet. So it could just be yet another thing that Marvel has just tucking it away for later. And then, 2-3 movies down the line, it comes up again. And that's, I guess, maybe was to Aaron's point, is like, oh, I'd completely forgotten about this, and now we're talking about this, and the TV show was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that is true. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't want to sound like an apologist, but post Endgame, it does seem like Disney/Marvel is creating things with the idea that the people that are consuming stuff at this point are probably in for the long haul. So we're gonna watch everything and consume everything, but not everybody is a diehard either. So, but
that's
I don't know.
A lot of normies have checked out. So like, well, we got the saga, and I don't really have time for all of it.
But then again, it follows the comic book formula. Same thing with comic books, is that you can't just...
That is true, but the movies were more accessible for normies because comic books are so complicated, and you have multiverses and you have reboots, and a regular person is like, I don't know where to even jump in. So the movies created a good jumping off point, and then so people are like, hey, yeah, this Iron Man, this Tony Stark, he's awesome. I get it. And Steve Rogers and all and everybody else. But then they go, so like you have people who maybe they didn't watch the Disney Plus shows, so they didn't watch WandaVision. Then they go see Doctor Strange 2, expecting Doctor Strange 2, and it's like, where the hell did Scarlet Witch come from? What's going on? And they're just like, yeah, I'm done.
But I think that's why it's like the comic books, in the sense that eventually they will have to reboot it. It's inevitable.
Probably, because it's bending under its own weight, because they've just done so much, and it all has to be interconnected. And I mean, I really feel like this interconnected universe has kind of it was good for a while, but then you just keep adding and adding and adding, and pretty soon it's going to just collapse because there's just too much there, and a lot of people are like, I can't keep track of it all. And that's just, I mean diehard comic book fans, they can keep track of stuff, and God bless them for it. But the movie going public, the one that shelled out billions and billions and billions of dollars and made Disney crap tons of money, they're not gonna stick with it. That's just the reality of it. I'm not trying to be a downer here, but that's what's gonna happen, and that's what is happening, I think.
I mean, technically, from what I've read, granted now with the strikes and stuff, as Rachel was mentioning, we don't know what's going to happen. But apparently, according to Kevin Feige, they're going to be carrying on with the MCU the way it is till around about 2050, and then there might be a reboot.
Well, I wish him luck in getting that far.
Yeah.
there are some external forces going on right now, especially if you pay attention to Disney Company, that are like, By the way, I'm Chrissy. I had to jump in late because I had a bit of an emergency. But I'm here now.
Chrissy's here.
I came in on that note. So So yeah. Hi.
It's all good.
Also, I was gonna ask, I know we're past news, but did we talk about Charles Martinet retiring at all?
No, I did not.
Oh, because that news hit today. I didn't know if you'd seen it. That the voice of Mario in the video games, Charles Martinet, who we met at FanX last year, they didn't say the word retiring. He's going to be more of a Mario ambassador, but he's whatever that means. But he's not going to be the voice of Mario in the games anymore. Now, he's been doing it for more than 30 years, so
his vocal cords will probably deserve a rest.
They probably do. He's not getting any younger, but you can tell. And Nintendo did say they are going to release a video later that will explain more what's going on and what this means. So he will still be involved as I guess kind of help promoting the games and whatnot. But yeah, so he is stepping down, and it's a little sad, but at the same time, I can totally understand it. People are freaking out, like, "Oh no." Like, is Chris Pratt gonna do it? I'm like, no, he's gonna do it for the movies, but not for the video games. Like, are you people mental? Sorry. But I guess with some of the promotional stuff, and I had noticed this. I had to go back and look for the new game, the Super Mario. It's called Wonder. They all said like, oh, it doesn't sound like him, and I'm like, he didn't even say anything in that trailer. How do you know? So I don't know. We'll see. But I just wanted to give a nod to that because it did break this morning, as I understand it. And dude's a legend. He's been the voice of Mario in the video games for pretty much
a long time.
Ever since Mario was a voice character in video games. So he's kind of been, and he's voiced Luigi and Wario, and I can't remember what else. He's done a lot of voices for Nintendo, and apparently he was a voice in Skyrim, which is not a Nintendo property, obviously, but someone mentioned that. I'm like, really? So he's done some good voice work. So I say cheers to him and enjoy your retirement, my friend.
Yes.
That was all I wanted to make sure. Anyway, back to what we were doing.
Yeah. We were just finishing up the feedback. So that's it. So we can move on to this week's main topic. And usually at this point, I would insert the spoiler sound, which I may still, but I think at this point, that alarm, the sound that I use, not only is alarm spoilers ahead, but alarm, our ship is sinking.
That too.
Oh.
The cloister bells are ringing.
Exactly. So this is your warning that this is going to be a probably a lively discussion is probably the best way to put it. So, because we have thoughts, to quote myself.
Ooh, yes.
From Gold Standard, we have thoughts. And as Nick said, he's been dying to actually like talk to someone. So have I.
Yes.
So because the chat can only do so much. So yeah, Good Omens season 2 happened. And we're all dead. Neil Gaiman is no longer on my Christmas list, Christmas card list, and I hate him and love him all at the same time.
We thought the therapy session for Endgame was bad enough.
Oh my God.
Or Infinity War was bad enough. We have this now.
Yeah. So obviously Good Omens, we talked about the first season, the adaptation, from the acclaimed novel from Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, one of my absolute favorite books of all time. My poor copy is just absolutely battered, and I also own like every other piece of Good Omens related book paraphernalia up to this point, so I still need to get on that Kickstarter for the official graphic novel. before that before that ends. But yeah, I just, we were so excited with Good Omens season 1, and it was such a good adaptation. And Neil did his very best to give us exact, what he thought the fans would want, while still being true to his and Terry's vision for these characters. And we got what we got, and we were like, oh, lovely. And also at the same time, people like myself who apparently completely clueless to the amazingness that is Michael Sheen, I was like, oh, I'm so glad you're in my life now. I bring him up on Gold Standard a lot anytime I can. And of course, the friendship between David Tennant and Michael Sheen, although they've been friends for a long time, it's just the whole Good Omens thing and social media brought that forward for the rest of us to bask in the bromance. They are the next generation down from Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as far as bromances go. So
I think I mentioned that in the chat. They're the other side of the coin.
Yeah. So when they gave us the nice surprise that we were getting a second one, we were like, hey, fantastic. And Neil was like, yeah, we're gonna pull some stuff from the sequel book that we just never got around to making because Terry died, and all that stuff. And we're like, great. And he's like, hey, look, we're bringing a lot of the cast back too. Like, look, John Hamm is coming back. We're like, great. We're bringing back some familiar faces, but they're playing different parts. Like, that's fine. So we're all like, great. And then occasionally, like somebody'd snap a picture because they'd be filming outside somewhere, which was really fun when watching it, because it's like, hey, I remember when we got images of them filming the scene.
It's like, we're not going to tell you about the heartache that's up ahead. You're just going to have to wait for that.
Yeah. So So we were really excited, and then it dropped. Essentially the night before. It was the date that it was supposed to drop on Amazon Prime, and I immediately started watching and was up way too late because I could not stop. I just sat there and watched all 6 episodes in one fell swoop.
I need answers.
Yeah, which
I need answers.
Was a blessing and a curse, because then it's like I have this knowledge of what's going to happen that other people that are not watching it yet do not have, and now I need to talk to people about it.
But
and
I have to wait.
I have no one to talk to. It's also the middle of the night, because it dropped at like 8:00 Eastern Standard Time. So it's 6 episodes. You do the math. It was a late night.
Yep.
Then poor Chauncey had to be the one to listen to me go, I'm like Joe Pesci in Home Alone. Cursing Neil Gaiman in the day he was born, in the nicest way possible, because that just goes to show just how good of a writer he is. So that he was just able to take something where, unlike with the first season where we generally knew what was going to happen if you'd read the book, this we had no clue. We really had no idea what the plot was going to be and where what was going to happen and where it may end, and we're still recovering. Like, I was online, in Twitter and AO3. the ending, season 2 ending fix-it fan fiction started populating very quickly online.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
And Twitter was they specifically had a hashtag going, Good Omens spoilers or Good Omens 2 spoilers or whatever. And of course, I'd seen it, so I didn't care at that point. But I was like, we're not okay. The fandom is not okay at this point. Like, we are all going to do therapy. And at the same time, I'm sure Neil's Tumblr inbox was probably blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where he was at that point, time zone wise. He may have been awake watching it. Just part of me thinks he was watching it with an evil grin on his face, and then part of him was like probably talking to the screen, going, "It'll be okay if we get a season 3."
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at now. Is I think according to Amazon, Good Omens 2, one of the most watched comedy series, I guess, whatever category it's in on Amazon. So it's the ratings, if you want to call it that, have been very, very good, which is a very good sign for us potentially getting a season 3. But we also need to continue to let Amazon know that there is demand once once stuff can start going back into production is the thing. Like, obviously, like the script has to be written and Neil knows what he wants to happen, and he's got a rough outline and notes, but he refuses. He's not going to work on the script for season 3 or anything else while the writer's strike is going. So which is totally understandable. But
trust me, I've been continuing to look through Amazon. I've been doing searches. Good Omens season 2 Blu-ray. Good Omens season 2 DVD.
Yeah.
And I check the streaming. I'm just like, okay, is there a purchase option available? For
it will eventually. I can't remember how long it was in between.
I can't remember. But it's just like, okay,
because I have it on Blu-ray. Season 1.
I do.
So
I have season 1 on Blu-ray. It's just like, okay, this is another way for me to tell you I'm interested in another season. Let me please purchase.
Now, I can't tell you
my money.
I can tell you the soundtrack
that, yes, I saw that
is going to be available for streaming and digital download on the 25th of August.
Yoo-hoo,
you can buy the CD. You can buy the CD come the 13th of October, and eventually it's going to be available on vinyl.
Ooh,
date
nice.
to be determined. So, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
So yeah, while we're patiently or impatiently waiting for the physical media of the actual show, you will be able to get your hands on the soundtrack.
Yeah,
shortly.
Yes. Cue the Spanky and our gang guy sitting outside the window drumming fingers.
Yeah.
That be me.
Yes.
I'm waiting.
I'm waiting. We're all just gonna have like Carly Simon on repeat. Anticipation. So, oh my goodness, where do we want to start with this? I don't even know.
Brilliant.
I mean, the plot was interesting. The idea that Gabriel has left heaven for some reason that we find out later, and has no memory of who he is, and the only thing that he knows is he needs to get to Aziraphale's bookshop.
Yeah. Clothing optional.
Clothing optional. Yes, I've seen way more of John Hamm than I probably ever want to in my life. But
it's
that's
like
okay.
You're not the doctor going to that church and the the whatever trans matter, whatever that's supposed to cover up the clothes or whatever. Yeah, that doesn't happen here.
Yes. So of course, Aziraphale, being Aziraphale, immediately is like, oh goodness, and then Crowley's like, no, we shouldn't get involved, because Crowley is like paranoid of both sides, which is totally understandable. So they've been perfectly content living on their side for several years at this point. And just are doing their thing. Although since Crowley has been disowned by Hell, he is no longer the representative of Hell in the United Kingdom, and that's where Shaq comes in. So with good old Miranda Richardson returning, but not as Madame Tracy. Shax instead.
And how sweet was the Aziraphale to the record shop owner? Oh my goodness.
Yes. So we've got Nina Sasanya back, who was one of the nuns. Now she is playing Nina, a coffee shop owner. And then we have Maggie Service, who was also a nun. And now she is playing Maggie, the owner of a record shop that is, I guess, technically attached to the building that houses Aziraphale's bookshop. And I guess he's the landlord?
That's what I'm assuming.
That's because she has to pay him rent.
Yeah. But he doesn't care if she bothers to pay with rent. Like, what does he need money for? He doesn't, I guess it gives him a little pocket change instead of actually having to sell a book. So, which I really think it's, I can't speak for the UK, and maybe in the Good Omens universe this is not the case, but when Maggie is all like, I'm not really selling a whole lot because records don't seem to be that popular, and I'm like, they are over here. Like, records have gotten a second life.
Oh yeah,
at least here in the US. I mean, I literally got it has a record player built into it, but this is a piece of furniture.
Like
is a record player, a vintage record player and radio from the 1960s. That's like a decent sized piece of furniture. It's got storage and all this stuff. I got that from my in-laws for my birthday this year. And we had some records because we were buying the Metallica box sets when they were releasing those, because they come with all sorts of goodies. And then we just kind of slowly have been building up a very eclectic library of records of various types, and we actually do like listening to them. So it's like, records are really popular here. So I don't know what Maggie is like doing wrong, or if it's just the market there in Soho, which
it's the American market. That's the thing, because the United States, they actually did a whole sort of there was a documentary about that actually over here a couple of weeks ago, where they explained that the United States is the biggest buyer of vinyls in the world, and right behind them there's like Japan and Germany. The rest of the world, it's still very much a niche market.
It's all those hipsters.
Yeah.
Portland made it cool, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing though, is it's like, if records are, if all the hipsters are buying records, then again, Soho isn't that supposed to be like a hipster neighborhood?
It kind of is,
London?
yeah.
So it's like, I would think that would be perfect, but
I guess it's just the vinyl market. I mean, because like I said, over here in Italy, the same. Nobody buys vinyls over here either.
Yeah, they are missing out
unless you're over 60.
Yeah, or maybe a traditional DJ. Doing
exactly
doing shows.
Unless you're still using the classic turntables, then
yeah. If you're Grandmaster Flash, I guess.
Yeah, because these days that's all gone away. It's all digital, which is very sad. But You will still get your classic DJ who will use vinyls and classic turntables, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, the rest of the world needs to catch up, because there's something about the sound from vinyl that you can't get from anything else. There's just some music that just sounds better.
Oh yeah.
On vinyl.
It's a much warmer production compared to
Mm-hmm.
CD or even MP3. It's just warmer in general because the sound is not compressed as much as it is as compared to CDs or even digital, where there's so much compression of the audio track that it becomes much colder sounding, whereas in vinyl you wouldn't have that audio compression.
Yeah. So we've got the returning faces, and but we also have some new faces. So we've got I don't want to butcher her name. I'm so sorry. Quillen Sepulveda plays Muriel, who's an angel low on the totem pole. So who's never been to Earth before, and does their best to blend in best possible. She's like, I am a human police officer, you know. like I don't know what to do with tea, so I was like, I'm just gonna look at it. Very adorable character. Doesn't get a whole lot to do. I imagine that Muriel's maybe gonna play a bigger role in season 3. So you know what? Going forward, I'm just going to refer to it as season 3 as a given. I'm like, if we get one, when we get a season 3.
Because he said, I think Neil even said whatever format he can get season 3 to be, it's going to come.
Yeah.
So
we're going to get a season 3 in some form or fashion. So
not if, when.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna treat that as a given. And we get more of Derek Jacobi, Sir Derek Jacobi, as the Metatron, who is also on our shit list at the moment.
Yep.
So,
and I messaged Rachel. I was like, man, the parallels between the angels in this one and the angels in Supernatural. Close.
And we also get our return of our 3 Nazis. From the 19th from the Blitz. So nice to see Marquis again. Yes.
You had to do zombie Nazis, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Because the best Nazi is a dead Nazi.
Yeah.
And if the Nazi can be undead, that's bad. So.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So
Indiana Jones. Don't worry, we got this covered.
Yeah. I just like to think that while that is going on, that Jack and Rose and the Doctor are just completely oblivious. While the Blitz is going on, that they're zombie Nazi. I mean, they're already having to deal with kind of zombies anyway.
Right, with the nanobites or nanobots or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So we're just gonna pretend there's a nice set formation there.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing's just kind of a mystery, trying to figure out why Gabriel is on Earth, doesn't remember who he is. How do we get his memory back without him remembering that the last time that he saw who he assumed was Aziraphale although we know that was actually Crowley wearing Aziraphale's face. He told him to shut his mouth and die already. So, and they really don't want heaven or hell showing up on their doorstep going, we would like Gabriel, please, which that ends up happening anyway. So, and then also the process, we get a lot more Aziraphale and Crowley backstory throughout, especially the biblical times. So we get the story of Job.
Yeah.
Spectacularly
by Peter Davison.
Yeah. Which it took me a second because I'd heard or saw the rumor that supposedly Peter Davison was going to make an appearance, but I didn't know the context. So when he started talking, I was like, that voice sounds familiar. Like,
I know that voice. It can't be. Wait a minute. It is.
Yes, it was a nice little Davison Tennant family reunion because Job's oldest child, played by Ty Tennant, who is making quite the name for himself. Is not well. Is Ty the one that's non-binary? I know one of their kids has come out as non-binary. I hate to misgender them, but I can't off the top of my head.
I'm not 100%
remember. Sure, either way, David Tennant gets to yell at his kid and turn him into a lizard. Something he probably wanted to do at some point during Ty's childhood when threw a temper tantrum or something. Or maybe Georgia did. Maybe Georgia was off to the side going, yeah, finally. So that was a fun little family reunion. Because kind of the thing is like the theme, because obviously the theme for the first one is Armageddon is coming, and these two people who should not be friends but are think that the apocalypse is a very bad idea and it should be stopped. The kind of the theme for this season is like the label that is put on you, and they kind of allude to this a little bit in the ending of season 1 when they're at the Ritz, and Aziraphale is all like, deep down Crowley, there's a little bit of good in you, and Crowley's like, well, Aziraphale, you're a little bit of a bastard, and this kind of takes that and turns it up, and it's like, the idea of nature and labels and a theme that runs through the entire thing is good versus evil, and just because someone who supposedly is on the good side tells you to do something, should you, just because they're supposed to be the good side versus the side that is seemingly the bad guys, and therefore when they do something, it has to be bad. I mean, we saw that when Aziraphale and Crowley meet after Crowley's become a demon. The Aziraphale has it. He's got these very rigid rules in his head, and has had them there since the day that he popped into existence. And that he's so, even after everything they went to in the first season, he is still so, and this is a discussion that we started to get into in the chat, but it was not something that really could be done in chat. The idea of indoctrination, whether it's religious or whatever, when you're part of a community that has a very rigid set of ways of doing things, it could be the military, it could be, a religion, it could be whatever. And that's all like you've really ever known. And then suddenly someone approaches you with, hey, have you ever thought of maybe, I don't know, thinking for yourself? and making your own decisions. And that's a really tough thing for Aziraphale to wrap his head around. And it's, by the time we get to the end of this season, it doesn't come around to bite him in the ass.
No.
It comes around to smack us all in the face. But the whole thing with the story of Job, because Job is supposed to be this really devout follower of God, and God and Satan come to an agreement that Satan will be allowed to test Job and see just how strong his faith is. And first that means destroying like all of his like property, so like his land, all of his goats and sheep and stuff. And then they're going to kill his family, like all of his kids. Which we know Crowley he hates the idea of killing kids. Doesn't matter. We saw that with the flood, with Noah and the ark. He's like, oh, you can't kill kids. So he and Aziraphale, come up with this plan to turn the kids into lizards. And because Gabriel is kind of stupid and does not understand Earth and the way humans actually work, they're able to trick him into the kids reappearing, but pretends that they're other kids, and Aziraphale ends up lying, and he's sure that that's going to cause him to fall from heaven, and he's having like an existential crisis, and it turns out that that's not the case. God's not going to kick him out of heaven just for lying to Gabriel, probably because Gabriel deserves it. That
you
God
get that
knows.
get that whole concept, like you were mentioning, Rachel, of labels and stuff. I think one could almost also say that the relationship that we then find out we get between Gabriel and Beelzebub is very much a mirror of Aziraphale and Crowley's relationship, if you will, in the sense that both of them had certain stations and certain roles to play within hell and heaven, where when they actually, felt something for each other, even though they were on the opposite teams, if you will, and then they end up coming together. And I think that might also be the reason that spurs maybe Aziraphale into action to declare himself, if you will, to Crowley. Possibly.
Yeah. And then we get the whole story in the early 1800s, which again, we saw some of those set pictures that people took from a distance, which I thought they were going like a whole Frankenstein. For some reason, I thought maybe we were doing like a whole like either Dr. Frankenstein or like a Mr. Jekyll, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing with the stealing of the dead bodies. I don't know why I thought it was going to be something like that. It was like, no, the guy is like doing actual science. And
that's actually how it happened way back when. People did rob graves, were paid to rob graves.
Yeah. But,
they're called resurrectionists. I'm actually reading a book, actually a whole series where one of the main characters' families are resurrectionists, and they are not nice people, and she's trying to get away from them.
And that's exactly what they're referencing in that episode is the resurrectionists. But Aziraphale's like, oh, stealing bodies, that's bad, and then it turns out that the guy is like an aspiring doctor or like viral, whatever label you'd want to put on nowadays, like virologist or whatever, and is using the study of these bodies to figure out ways to like cure illnesses and stop diseases and stuff. So it's like you need the bodies to be relatively freshly dead, so before decomposition sets in, so that you can get an accurate, kind of
paraphrase the Princess Bride, mostly dead.
Yes, you need them mostly dead so you can get an accurate autopsy.
It's a controversial topic, just in general.
And it still kind of is, because you'll hear people that are, you hear sometimes people that, when people ask, like, what are you gonna, what do you want done when you die? Like, do you want to be buried? Some people have family plots. Do you want to be cremated? All these things, and then
or donate your body to science.
I want to donate my body to science, which there are some legitimate ways you could do that. Unfortunately, there are some nefarious people out there that claim to be like the middleman between your dead body and the science community. But some people are all like, why would you want to do that? And they're like, I'm going to be dead. I'm not using it anymore. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that the whole body, the grave robber thing, it tended to be mostly criminals who had been hanged, and that's why you'd have not only such a big audience when there was a hanging, because within the audience there were grave robbers waiting for that body to then be carted off, so then they could rob it from the grave the next day, because often these criminals did not have family, and so their bodies would not have been missed, if you will.
Yeah, and it's still kind of a it's a fascinating subject just from a historical standpoint, just because it's like, well, are you desecrating a grave? Are you, is this what the person would have wanted? But at the same time, all the medical knowledge that came from that. So it's a very interesting kind of debate. And I don't know where I come down on it. Just like, were they doing a good thing, or was this bad? Or I don't know. I really don't know. But it's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Which is very morbid. I admit.
No, I mean, I totally get it, because it's like back then you're talking the early 1800s, 1827 is when this episode is set.
Right.
And you couldn't say, once I'm dead, give me to like this doctor so that he can, open me up and ruffle, look on the inside and see what he might discover. People, because I mean, back then, even with like Dick was saying, even with criminals, they may get thrown into like a pauper's grave, but they still get buried, which is still a sign of respect for the dead. And this whole idea of not disturbing, because people they didn't, I mean, we still don't know now what happens after you die, but you figure a couple hundred years ago, their ideas they were way, way more religious leaning, way more puritanic. So it's like when somebody was dead, you bury them and you leave them alone, and that's the end of it. So you couldn't be like, I want to donate my body to science. So
and you also, a priest or somebody would come and say a few words and give them. Maybe it wouldn't have been like a grand funeral or something with tons of family around, but it's still like it was still a life, and it was still maybe they came to a bad end, but at the same time it's like, let God judge is basically what the idea was.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as grave robbing goes, I would say, if they're like, the gal in this episode where she's doing it because she needs the money, but at the same time she's helping out this doctor scientist who is helping make medical advancements, then I was like, that's at the end of the day, that's probably a good thing, if he's doing something that's going to help advance society. But I know also sometimes, graves will get robbed because they would think, people would have like gold teeth and stuff. So
there is that too.
Yeah.
Also, one
get the pennies on their eyes.
Sure. I mean, but I think also one of them was taken into consideration how hard medical practitioners had it back in the day, to where everything you did came under scrutiny. I mean, not even just to perform an autopsy to see how somebody died, that was considered sacrilege. You had to do it very secretively, unless you had, like, say, permission. If it was like somebody super important or whatever, there's like you can do this, but don't let anybody know that you did this. And that's why a lot of crimes went unsolved, because medical practitioners and even paramedics and what have you did not have the opportunity to perform autopsies to find out how people died, because opening up a body was considered a huge no-no at the time. And hence why also medicine took a while to advance, because these people, these chaps did not have the chance to advance their knowledge of the human body and how it worked.
Yep. Yeah. So it's when I realized that, this was when I saw the costumes, I was like, oh yay. And then watching where it was unfolding, how off I was. I'm like, no, okay, this is better. I like this where we're going, even if I was wrong. Yeah. So, and we get some hilarious acting by David Tennant, who, obviously Crowley really can't die, so he swallows a bunch of poison, which just gets him drunk, more than anything. We also get I died when Crowley and Aziraphale, whether they're going with this young lady to drop off this dead body, and the guy just assumes that they're both professionals as well, so he refers to both of them as doctor, and to have someone look at David Tennant and call him doctor.
I know, yeah.
Right?
A lot of Doctor Who references were dropped in this series.
Many Doctor
so many
Who references.
Let's see, a Fez for sure.
Yeah.
Then there was the Doctor Who fan, and then there was that.
Yep.
What was it?
The guy in the music shop.
Yeah.
He was playing the Doctor Who theme when they walked in, and then Aziraphale tempts him with a copy of the Doctor Who annual that never actually got printed.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
There were some great Easter eggs between Doctor Who, and I was so glad there were so many Discworld Easter eggs as well. When I saw that copy of The Color of Magic that they showed, I was like, oh my God, what? Do it now. They did a horrible movie of The Color of Magic, which was awful. Yeah. And now you can really do The Color of Magic and do Discworld proper, since we're advertising it, if you will. And hopefully the success of these shows will prompt folks like Gaiman or others to bring out his friend Terry's stuff. I mean, they did The Watch, which was awful. And I remember Rhianna Pratchett, his daughter, was just horrified when she watched it. She's like, this is not what my father had created. But she loved this second season series of Good Omens.
Yeah. Or when Gabriel is rearranging all the books by the first letter of the first word in the...
Oh my God, that was amazing. That was amazing. I can only imagine doing that.
But one of the books he pulls off the shelf, he does this so quickly you don't get to see the cover, but he opens this up to the first page, and the first line is, "It was a nice day. All the days have been nice. There have been rather more than 7 of them so far." And it's like, that's the opening to Good Omens.
Yeah.
And wasn't there also A Tale of Two Cities as well? Did you do it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, I think?
Yeah, I'm sure you probably mentioned that as well, but it was like, if you know the book, you would have read that. It was like, it was a nice day, and I'm like, oh my God, the book is in universe.
Yep. There you go.
And of course, Terry's hat and scarf are hanging on the hat rack in the bookshop. Does anyone know if Neil had a cameo?
No, I don't think he did.
Okay, so it wasn't one of those blink and miss them like I did with the first series, where
I don't think
even
so,
now watching it multiple times, I have to look for him in the movie theater, or because I'll miss him. So I was afraid maybe that Neil would have another blink and miss him cameo. So that's good. So yeah, and then we go back to 1941 London during the Blitz, with our Nazi zombies.
Yeah,
and we get to see the stage performance by the amazing Mr. Fell, master of prestidigitation. Now I know why Crowley was so pissed off when Aziraphale was like, I could do magic at Warlock's birthday party. And Crowley's like, you can do actual magic. Aziraphale's like, it's not as fun. Now we
Not
know.
this again.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, the bullet catching trick though, so many people have died attempting that. So that is not a magic trick. That is a stunt. Essentially, that can go really, really badly. So do not recommend. Stick with pulling rabbits out of a hat.
Very high skill check to do the catching bullet.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Yeah. And so
I forgot to also add there is also a Sherlock Easter egg in there as well, and they tend to do that a lot because with Mark Gatiss, who was kind of reference
that's right.
with Dartmoor. So I love the fact that they do like to reference the TV show Sherlock, which is a brilliant TV show, mind you.
And at one point, somebody says the words jiggery pokery.
Yes,
indeed.
I would almost say, I would almost think, while we're getting the flashbacks to the 1827, at the same time as Aziraphale has taken the Bentley to Scotland, and apparently the Bentley is willing to play other music besides Queen, when she's not being driven at 500 miles an hour, and also is willing to change colors.
Yes,
which, depending on how you look at things, depending on where you fall, some people theorize that Aziraphale picked yellow because it reminds him of Crowley's eyes, which is kind of sweet.
I can see that.
But I also think maybe it's a nod to Bessie.
Yes.
I would say
I
it
would
might be
agree.
more Bessie. It might be another Doctor Who reference, possibly.
Yeah.
And also, did you notice that the crank is the same one that Crowley uses to create the universe for the Bentley crank?
Yeah. Yep. He got to the point where cars were being invented, and he's like, "Ha!" It's like, what kind of vehicle can I attach to this? Ha! Bentley. So yeah. Oh my God, that opening with when Crowley's still an angel and he's inventing his little nebula.
Yes.
Aziraphale, he grabs Aziraphale as Aziraphale's going from one job to another, and he's like, "Oh, hold this for me," and creates a little nebula, and he's like, "Let there be light." It's like Angel Crowley, you could just kind of tell he was so carefree and everything. Although it's still, there's one of those things that Neil Gaiman, hopefully in season 3 we get a confirmation if Crowley's is his demon name and if he had a different name when he was an angel, because
Before
I guess according to lore or whatever, the angel Raphael is the one that created the stars and all the stuff in the cosmos, all the nebulae and constellations and stuff like that. So the fandom, as far as they're concerned, Crowley was Raphael when he was an angel. So, but that's not been confirmed properly in universe yet. I hope that's something that gets confirmed in season 3. And then you got Crowley doing the wing thing, protecting his Aziraphale from the meteors. Like, please still, I can't stand it. It's like the minute those two met, it was just like, something special. That's the meet cute of all meet cutes.
Yep.
And
it's just like you're looking at like, okay, I like this ship, please don't fire any cannonballs into the ship. And what happens?
Well, and then we get, and then when we go back to the London Blitz, we get the the bombing of the chapel that we got in season 1, but then it picks up where that ends with Aziraphale and Crowley leaving, and we see the Nazis get turned into zombies. But we're all like, when Aziraphale is like, oh, the books, I forgot the books, because this entire church is just fall into rubble around them, and Crowley immediately appears with the bag with the books in him, and he's like, oh, look, I saved him, here you go. It's like Michael Sheen, he does his face, he can portray and convey so much.
Yes.
And so subtly, and I bring this back up when we talk about the finale. But all of us that are on that ship, you can all I think we're all kind of in agreement in general that, like, the moment that Crowley saves those books and hands them to Aziraphale, you could just see on Aziraphale's face that it's like, oh shit, I love this person.
Yeah.
He is not just my friend. I am in love with this demon, and I'm screwed.
Yep.
Because I do not know what to do with this information.
What just happened? And
Yes.
I don't know how or if I want to fix this.
Yeah, it's like Crowley, I think, reached that conclusion a lot sooner.
Yeah,
but
what was
it's
a
like
little quicker on the
definitely
uptake than the other?
definitely by the Blitz, you could just kind of tell that the penny drops with Aziraphale, where he's like, oh shit, I am in love with this person. What do I do now? Go to the theater and have him shoot a bullet at me, and I'll try to catch it with my teeth. That's what he does. Because he's such a sucker for the theater.
And with no powers, mind you.
Yes, yeah. It's like apparently Hell has punch cards that will allow you to temporarily stop the ability to do miracles. So
Talk about a power dampener.
I know. It's like, I imagine that it probably takes a lot of demonic power to make that happen, so it's not something they can just like pop out and use all willy-nilly. But yeah, that is pretty wild that they do the whole thing without their ability any miracles. So but they do stop the zombies, and they outsmart Furfur. It's a weird name for a demon, Furfur. Thankfully, Aziraphale, while he's not necessarily that good at other magic tricks, apparently he can do sleight of hand when the need arises. So okay, I will admit this was lost on me, that Aziraphale turning the Soho business association meeting into a ball was straight out of like
Pride and Prejudice. That's what it was.
Like Pride and Prejudice, or take your pick. That's completely lost on me that's what that he was doing there. I love the fact that we learned that Aziraphale is a big Jane Austen fan, and while Crowley's a big Richard the novelist. He's a fan of Jane Austen as a novelist. Crowley's a fan of her for everything else she did
as a criminal. Yeah. But also, and the fact that Crowley is a fan of Richard Curtis movies, and that's the guy who directed stuff like Four Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill and Love Actually. So it plays into that theme of this series is kind of a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's no surprise that we have the Pride and Prejudice stuff, and we have the whole wanting to stage it like a British rom-com.
Yeah. See, I'm not a huge fan of Austen, so some of that stuff is lost on me. No offense to the Jane Austen fans out there, but
you're missing out. I'm just saying. It's not just.
I've seen Sense and Sensibility.
Sense and Sensibility. I actually prefer Sense and Sensibility to Pride and Prejudice myself.
I do too, but I love all the Austen stuff, and it's not just romance, love stories, although that is a big part of it. It's social commentary, I guess. Well, not really, and just kind of there's some comedy behind it too, and some of the stuff that goes off. But then again, our society is so different than what her society was, and even modern historical romances don't really capture it because they're kind of going on a very pale imitation. But yeah, you read Jane Austen, it's still, although I recently listened to the audiobooks of all of Jane Austen's, and I actually came to really like Mansfield Park, which I was not expecting to do.
And oddly, that was the schoolhouse I was in way back in high school. I was in Austen House. Yep. Yeah, because unlike the cool names like Slytherin and all that stuff, we had Austen, Darwin, and a couple of others.
They were named after notable people, which I guess
notable British people. Yes, because it was a British school. So there you go.
Well, I guess Hogwarts houses are named after notable British wizards. So
Yeah. And so I was in Austen, even though at the time I'd never read the Jane Austen book at the time. But yeah, that's the memory I had of Jane Austen at the time.
It's one of those,
I would be for Austen.
She's one of those classic literature, those authors that you should read, in college or whatever. That's actually enjoyable.
Yeah, you know what? At least I appreciated it in later life. As a teenage boy, I was like, no, this is not for me.
You have an excuse, and a lot of the movies that are made from Jane Austen novels, they're kind of chick flick, or they're marketed as such. But, it's still, and I do enjoy a good love story, a good romance, especially historical romance. It's kind of my jam, as it were. But there's still just, I don't know. There's something about the dialogue and the setting and the snark. There's so much sarcasm underneath everything that she writes, even though you kind of have to know what she's saying to understand that, because obviously different time and place that she's writing from. But it gets so funny. There are so many funny moments.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. The Sense and Sensibility movie they did way back when, I enjoyed that one. The one was nominated for Best Picture. That was a good one.
Oh, the one with Kate
Alan
Winslet
Rickman.
and
Correct.
Rickman.
Alan Rickman. That was the one. Yeah.
The whole reason I watched
Emma
that
Thompson.
one. Yes.
Oh gosh, Emma Thompson is just she's wonderful. I like Kate Winslet in that well enough, but Emma Thompson kind of just steals the show.
She was like born to play Austen movies, Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
She should have been born during Austen's time. She literally seems like she's from that era.
Yeah. No, she's great in that movie. That's why Eleanor is one of my favorite Austen characters.
And see, that's why, it's like the whole ball thing kind of lost me, but the other stuff I caught, thankfully, like the miracle of everybody's outfit changing the minute they walk through the door, the fact that Mrs. Sandwich can't talk about the fact that she's a madam. Everything gets censored, so instead when she tries
she's a seamstress. Yeah,
she's a seamstress.
That is a very Pratchett thing. In Terry Pratchett's in Discworld, women who, should we say, are of negotiable affection are known as seamstresses on Discworld.
Yeah. Well, I just love that she gets so frustrated because she's like, because she can't say what it is she actually does. So the person she's talking to, she's like, "Can you describe it?" She talks about a gentleman coming to get his sock mended.
Yeah.
So that was a nice nod to Pratchett. I like that.
It's quite funny. I was like, we're gonna keep this as family friendly as it can be.
What can I say in polite company?
Exactly. It's like we're in mixed company, men and women together. So, but that was quite fun. And Aziraphale going around the neighborhood to convince all the business owners, to convince them that they need to show up, and finding different ways to
I love that he practices his French, even though the lady speaks perfect English.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And someone, I think it was on Twitter, someone mentioned the fact that of all the languages that Aziraphale would want to actually learn, and not just like miracle, so he suddenly knows it, is a love language. One of the romance languages. Yeah.
Good point.
Yes. So I was actually quite impressed, because I think Michael Sheen actually can speak French properly, at least to a point. I don't know how fluent he is, but I was actually, because I've been teaching myself French slowly, and because there's no captions when he was speaking in French, but I actually understood a good chunk of what he was saying. So yay, Michael Sheen, for your pronunciation, so that I could understand what you were saying. So,
well, then you've been clearly
the
doing your
lessons are
homework.
working.
Well, then you're exactly clearly doing your homework there, Rachel.
Yes. It's like, yay, the lessons are working, slowly but surely. It's sinking in. So, but yeah, he's finding different ways to kind of blackmail everybody. Although some people are more willing to show up than others. So, but to turn it into a ball, one, because that's more fun. But two, because there's this whole other subplot of them of Aziraphale and Crowley trying to work on getting Nina and Maggie together. Because apparently Maggie is just like head over heels for Nina. The Nina's in a relationship when the series starts, but then gets dumped partway through, which is actually the best thing for her, because that was obviously not a healthy relationship whatsoever. She should have gotten out of that relationship way sooner. But yeah, the fact that they're trying to get these two together, and they keep trying to do all the cliche rom-com type stuff, like getting caught in the rain and having to take shelter under an awning together. And then the awning busts open, so they both get sucked.
And I love that then Nina and Maggie call out Aziraphale and Crowley on their BS after it, saying, "You're doing this, but we kind of don't want to do this right now." Yeah.
And if it it's like they got other issues, like the fact that Shax and has decided to what she thinks is going to be legions of hell from hell, but apparently hell can't spare legions. They don't have the manpower. See, nobody wants to work. The workforces are understaffed everywhere, apparently even in hell.
File that under good help is so hard to find these days.
Yup, exactly. So I love Shax is all like, I want legions, and you're like, yeah, we can spare like 50. It's like, fine, take what I can get. So that was rather funny. And then she shows up with her legions and attacks the bookshop, so to try to get Gabriel, which
I'm surprised that Aziraphale's bookshop hasn't, Nick, you'll get the pun, hasn't been declared holy ground. No battles should take place there. Or if anything does, bad things happen.
I agree. I also did like the callback to the first season where apparently fire extinguishers are the weapon of choice when it comes to fighting demons.
Yes, and Neil made sure to mention when somebody asked on his Tumblr, all the candles used to set the atmosphere for the ball were electric.
Wow.
Nice. Being
not a
eco-friendly
proper
there.
candle to be found in the bookshop.
Oh, being eco-friendly there. That's nice.
Yes.
That's probably a good thing for the books and just general safety anyway.
Yeah.
You don't want one little knock in.
Nope, we've seen that happen. All right, we don't need that happening again.
Yeah, let's just avoid that.
Yeah. Good idea. So then in the final episode, Crowley runs off to heaven in disguise to try to figure out what the heaven, I guess, is going on. And Maggie and Nina learn about celestial beings and hell and the fact that they're real. They end up, well, I don't necessarily end up winning. They come to a stalemate when the Metatron shows up, and everyone's kind of forced to take a pause with everything, and we learn exactly what happened to Gabriel, which is that he since the not apocalypse or apocanope, depending on what terminology you want to use, after the apocalypse that did not happen, Beelzebub and Gabriel started meeting on the DL to try to figure out what the hell they're supposed to do next. Because both sides were expecting a giant war that did not happen. So they start meeting at a pub in Scotland, the same one that Aziraphale ends up going to. And it just throughout the course of time of them meeting up, they end up falling for each other. Which at that point I'm like, Neil Gaiman, you have been reading fan fiction.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because Gabriel and Beelzebub is the other major ship in the fandom in the fan fiction corner.
Yep.
So
it's like, which fanfic have you been reading and which authors do we need to take a look at?
Yeah. And it's like, did you find these fan fictions on your own, or did Michael Sheen send them to you? Because we know Michael reads them. Michael's a huge fan of Good Omens fan fiction. So,
and did you put those fan fiction authors in witness protection for their own safety?
Yes.
Because I can see that turning.
They probably all had to sign NDAs if any of their stuff got used.
Probably.
So.
There better be a fat check in the mail too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So. But I was just all like, really? Beelzebub and Gabriel? This is okay. AO3? What's your fan fiction database of choice here, Neil?
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people ended up listening to Every Day after having watched season 2 by Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
So somewhere Paul McCartney's bank account just got a few pounds healthier because he owns the Buddy Holly catalog.
Yes, that's correct. So he does.
So they would have had to go to Paul McCartney to get permission to use that song.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'd be curious to see the number of listens on that song when it comes to like Spotify and Pandora and those kind of things after.
Yeah, really.
I'm
Or how many
surprised
how many
there's another Buddy Holly song they didn't use that goes with the lyrics, well, all right.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
So trying
it's
to
like,
keep a relationship hidden, and it's like, we'll just go for it.
yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, the fandom again losing their mind because the first time we see Crowley, he's on his way to Aziraphale's bookshop, and good old fashioned lover boy is playing in the Bentley. So I was like,
yeah, nothing like telegraph
on the nose there.
A little on the nose, just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little weird to not have every song be Queen.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
Because because the Bentley was more than happy to play like Glenn Miller for Aziraphale while he's driving her. So or whatever, big band music. So and give him sweets to nibble on while he's driving as well.
Is that, I have to actually ask, is that a thing in the States too, where you have like travel candy?
Well, I mean, when I go on road trips, I do like to take snacks. I can't say I have a designated spot in the dashboard for them.
Because that's a very English thing, in the sense that when I saw that was something that would happen whenever I visit my my relatives in England. Like when I went on drives with my grandma, there would literally be a compartment where you would put candy, or before the trip, we would purchase candy and put it in the thing, because like it's like this tradition of having like sweets to munch on while you're traveling. It's a very British thing.
It is a rule of a road trip that if you do not go into a gas station when you're filling up with gas, and you come out and you do not come out looking like a 10-year-old was given $100 and was just told to go nuts, that you are not on a proper road trip.
Nope.
I am just saying.
There's a reason that gas stations, I'm doing very big air quotes, gas stations like Buc-ee's now exist.
Yeah.
You have to get your drinks and you have to get your munchies.
And this every seat in the car has a cup holder. Even my kids' car seats have cup holders now where they can put their goodies. So yes, it is not just an English thing, Nick.
Okay, no, good to know. Yeah, because this was obviously way back when. This was like in the early 90s.
Right.
When I was visiting my grandma. So yeah, that was. So that's why I'm saying it's very ingrained.
I can't say I have a designated spot though. So usually we bring depending on whether it needs to stay cold or not, we can either bring like a cooler.
I mean, you even get this in
a bag.
You even get this in books as well, like in some of Pratchett's stuff. Once again, like one of the characters gets kidnapped and he's on a dragon, and literally the guy who's driving the dragon says, "Would you like something to suck?" and literally offers him these sweets from a bag while he's taking him to wherever it is.
Yeah.
Here, we might have to blindfold you, but we'll give you a hard candy for your troubles.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's right. That's it. That's how it works.
Although the rule is, especially in the summertime, no chocolate because it melts everywhere. But usually we get gummies of some kind.
Yeah.
Like peach rings, gummy worms,
Twizzlers,
Skittles, Twizzlers, and of course
Twizzlers, not red vines. Red vines are the devil.
Now, see, I'm gonna have to disagree because red vines are. Mwah.
No, I got my father-in-law. If you are what you eat, he would be a red vine, but they are so gross.
So basically, he's kind of like Jughead Jones. If you would take a blood sample instead of hamburger juice, so it would be red vine juice.
Red vines remind me of going to the drive-in theater that was across the street from my grandparents, because we always got red vines, and we'd sit in the car and watch a movie and the popcorn, and for our recent trip to the lake, I got a big thing of red vines, and I'm like, everybody have red vines. They're wonderful. But I like Twizzlers too. And
they're too waxy. Red vines are too waxy for me. Ooh.
See, and I'd say Twizzlers are more waxy than red vines, but to each their own.
Yep. That just means I can buy Twizzlers and I don't have to share them with anybody because everybody else eats the red vines.
Well, there you go.
There you go. You can keep your own stash for yourself.
Yeah. But usually we have to have something sweet, but also something salty because you kind of balance it out. So you got to have some sort of like potato chip or something.
I agree. You have to have kind of some savory and sweet. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So note to self, when we go on a road trip, buy red vines and Twizzlers.
Both are acceptable. I will just have more red vines than Rachel.
Yeah.
Now, what flavor are Twizzlers? Strawberry or cherry?
Strawberry.
Okay. Yep.
Strawberry. And the traditional, the long ones in the packet, not those little nibs. Those don't have the same texture as the twisties. So just good traditional strawberry Twizzlers in the packet. Please and thank you.
Well, I know what I'm getting on the vending machine at work tomorrow.
We're here debating the merits of different kinds of licorice and
they have to be the nice fresh Twizzlers. I'm guilty. I will squeeze the Twizzler package first before I decide if I buy. If there's not enough of them, I'm not buying them.
Dried out Twizzlers can also be hazardous to your health because I swear those things shatter.
Yes.
Shards. And
you're gonna lose a filling.
Right.
Yes. If you're not careful.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah.
But we'd take a sponsorship if they were giving
really.
them out.
Yeah, dear Twizzlers. Whoever it is that makes Twizzlers, whoever their parent company is. Maybe Hershey's.
I think so.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look it up.
Yeah.
Continue. I will look that up.
Yeah. Dear Hershey's, we will gladly take a trip to Pennsylvania.
I'm literally going to Hershey in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, see, there you go. You can get them from the source.
Yeah, Google. I said it goes to the Hersheyland website
there you go.
to look at Twizzlers. So there you go.
I was right.
They have peach flavored. That sounds good.
Well, yeah, they have all sorts of crazy flavors of Twizzlers now. So anyway,
now that we've made everybody hungry,
I think in a way, I think we're subconsciously but also consciously stalling for the ending.
Yes, I think so,
because none of us want to talk about it.
It's a Band-Aid that we really don't want to have to touch, but we're going to have to rip it off anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I could pull up the Twizzlers candy frequently asked questions.
This is the quality content our listeners tune in for.
History. When were Twizzler Twists first produced? 1929 by Young and Smiley in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Well, there you go. Next pub trivia night, you can pull that out of your pocket.
Now, if that turns into an anagram for a Zerfell or Crowley, we're
yeah.
Oh, I'm not that clever to come up with that on the fly. How long is the longest Twizzlers twist? Was 1,200 feet. Set the Guinness Book of World Record for longest piece of licorice candy ever made on July 19th, 1998.
Wow.
Oh, that's way more entertaining than the
and strawberry is the most popular flavor.
Hell yeah.
That does not surprise me.
No. Nope. It's more entertaining than the Metatron coming in and messing up. As much as I love Sir Derek Jacobi, he's an amazing actor. But the Metatron, supposed to be the mouthpiece for God, which fine, whatever. That's how it rolled. Although we do hear God's voice a few times, usually when she's talking to Job. So it was nice to hear her voice again. but yeah, so we find out that because of the feelings, that was a tangent. Because of the feelings that Gabriel and Beelzebub have created for each other, they come up with a plan. If something was to happen, and it does, they go to the Gabriel and the other archangels meet to vote to try to kickstart Armageddon again. And Gabriel's like, nope, don't want to do it. Nope. And he's like, I'm the supreme archangel, so my vote trumps all the rest of yours, so nope. So they're all like, well, we can't have that, because Michael especially has a power trip, an ego that really needs to be put in check. So they are like, well, fine, we're gonna kick you out of heaven and we're gonna wipe your memories. Which is what Gabriel was actually prepared for, thanks to Beelzebub. So all of his memories go into this little fly that Neil somebody asked on Neil's Tumblr. The fly, it's about the fly Beelzebub gives Gabriel. Was it a paid actor? As in, did you need to train a fly for the scene where it's flying across the room in season 2, episode 6? Or was that all CGI? Was it a mix of both, perhaps, where there was a real fly on set for some scenes and a CGI or possibly puppeted one? Side note, how did the scenes with the flies in general work? Neil said all the flies are CGI, every single one of them. Even Rodney the stunt fly, he was CGI too.
The obligatory help me.
Yeah. So Gabriel's able to hide his memories inside the fly because, according to Beelzebub, it's bigger on the inside.
I just hope no one with a fly swatter gets any ideas.
Yeah.
I knew that fly was gonna. It was like Chekhov's gun.
Yep,
like when Gabriel first shows up to the bookshop with the box, once Aziraphale retrieves it, and he opens it up, and there's seemingly nothing in the box, but then you hear the buzzing of a fly, and every so often, scenes in the bookshop, you would just hear the buzzing of a fly flying around, and I'm like, that is not just any fly. That fly means something. I'm like, what's his face in Close Encounters? Like, this means something. This is important. Richard Dreyfuss with the fly. So Chekhov's fly finally comes back around. Gives Gabriel all of his memories back, and then he and Beelzebub are reunited, and of course both sides are like, oh my god, Archangel, Supreme Archangel, and the head Duke of Hell are like in love. This can't happen. And the Metatron is like, actually, yeah, it can. Go off to and be happy together. I think they end up going off to Alpha Centauri due to Crowley's suggestion. The Metatron takes Aziraphale to talk angel stuff. Well, Crowley puts the bookshelf back together and gets a talking to by Maggie and Nina, who are like, yeah, we appreciate the all the rom-com attempts at the meet cutes, but
divine intervention.
Yeah, the divine intervention was like, if and when we decide to get together, it'll be on our terms. And at the same time, they're like, speak to Aziraphale. It's like pretty much what us and the fandom have been doing since day one. Just like, say what's on your mind and on your heart, Crowley. And he's like, okay. So when the Aziraphale shows back up, he's all excited, and Crowley's like, he's like, no, let me say what I need to say. It's a beautiful scene acted by David Tennant. Yes. Really the two of them, but I mean, David just kills this scene with Crowley just almost literally spilling his heart out to Aziraphale, and just, how much he means to him and how he wants them to be together, not just, to be together. Aziraphale's like, well, I've been invited to go to heaven to take Gabriel's place to be the supreme archangel, and you could come with me and you can be an angel again and we'll be all happy. And of course Crowley is all like, no, I don't want to go back to heaven. He's like, I don't want to go back to hell. I want to have the life we've carved out for ourselves. It's that indoctrination that Aziraphale, he's like one of those like little toy cars, that you pull back to wind it up, and eventually you wind it up enough and you let it go and it just takes off. Problem is Aziraphale, heaven is controlling Aziraphale's little toy car, and they just keep pulling him back. And every so often he gets a little bit, he escapes a little bit, but it's not quite wound up enough. So he gets a little bit, stopping the apocalypse.
Right.
Lying about Job's children, stuff like that. But but this is like the big one, and he can't break free to just finally just take off. And he's, I understand where it's taken me some time to come to terms with this. And there's a Twitter thread that I will have linked in the show notes that someone who is smarter and I guess less emotional than me, over the course of several tweets, explains why Aziraphale makes the decision that he does. Because ultimately, Crowley's like, no, I'm not, I don't want to be an angel again. I don't want to go back to heaven. I don't want heaven or hell. I just want us. And, Aziraphale can't wrap his head around that. And finally, after all these years, we finally get at least for one side what we've all been hoping for, and that's a kiss. But it's one-sided. Crowley lays a big old fat one on Aziraphale, and you can see just Aziraphale struggling. His first instinct is to not put like his arms around Crowley and pull him in. And that is just heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Could it also be that Aziraphale is just not there yet?
Yeah.
He's not at that point. Crowley's more ahead of the relationship than Aziraphale is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Aziraphale only figured out that he's in love with Crowley in like the last 80-ish years. So, yeah.
Exactly. So they're also at two different stages, I think, when it comes to where their headspace is.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just, for those of us that have been on this ship for a very long time, to essentially, get the kiss, and Aziraphale's arms are like flailing instead of like embracing Crowley. It's like, and there goes the cannonball into the hull of the ship. Yeah.
Or do you
iceberg straight ahead.
Yeah. Or do you think something else is controlling Aziraphale where he can't make good on the responsive action?
I don't think so. I think this is fully Aziraphale's choice.
Okay.
It's just he can't, I won't read y'all the entire thread, but the fact that they break apart and all Aziraphale can say to Crowley is, I forgive you. Which
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Ouch. So much ouch. And we get to the closing credits and we see Crowley back in the Bentley going back to his flat, because now that Shax has been taken care of, he can have his apartment back. And Aziraphale goes with the Metatron, and right before they get in the elevator to go to heaven, the Metatron lets, Aziraphale's like, oh, I can do so much good. I'm really excited to, to get to work. And Metatron is like, yeah, we've got big plans. It's called the Second Coming. And of course, we're all like, what?
Oh, crap.
No.
And even
because even in Aziraphale, and again, from that moment when the Metatron says the Second Coming to they get in the elevator and the credits are rolling, Crowley is I mean David Tennant, he's still amazing, but Crowley, he's in the Bentley, he's got his plants in the back, and you can just tell he is just like he's numb at this point because of what happened. He's pissed, but he's holding it in because I think part of him has gone a little numb. But if you watch Michael Sheen's face, he tells you so much. And I don't know how much of it is what Neil may have told Michael about what the plans are for season 3 so that he can play it correctly, and how much of this is maybe just how well Michael Sheen knows this character. He is Aziraphale. And the thing is this Twitter thread is Aziraphale realizing that the Second Coming means the return of Jesus Christ to Earth, and everything that's supposed to be claimed in like the Book of Revelations and stuff. And this is worse than the apocalypse. And it really means the end of the universe, and that includes the end of hell and all of its entities there within, and that includes Crowley. That means it's not the end of the world, it's the end of everything, including Crowley, permanently. And so the fact that Aziraphale's best bet is to get into a position of power where he can do something. I don't think he knows yet what he's going to try to do, but he knows he has to try something. Because before, if the apocalypse happened and Aziraphale and Crowley, if Aziraphale had gone with Crowley off to Alpha Centauri or whatever and away from Earth, they probably would have been fine. Because really, it was that part of the universe that would have been affected by the apocalypse. With the Second Coming, it is everything. There is no place for them to run off to together where Crowley will be safe.
Right.
And if you remember, I think it's when in episode 5, or maybe it's the start of episode 6, when the bookshop is under attack and Crowley does something, and Aziraphale says to like Nina and Maggie, like, he likes saving me, essentially something along those lines, that like saving me is one of Crowley's favorite things to do. This is Aziraphale's opportunity to return the favor. As many times as Crowley has saved Aziraphale's hide, from the guillotine just because he wanted crepes, from getting destroyed by Nazis, making sure he doesn't actually shoot him in the head with that damn gun, bullet catching thing. All the times that Crowley has come into Aziraphale's life and changed it for the better. I mean, Crowley's the one that introduced Aziraphale to food.
Yeah.
So yeah, this might be his way to make it up to Crowley for all the times he saved.
Aziraphale realizes that this, because there's nothing after this if this fails, but this is literally do or die for any potential future he has with Crowley. And when you think of it that way, and you watch Michael Sheen's face as they're riding on that elevator, and how he goes from sad to pissed to pleased with himself, like so many range of emotions in just that short time while those credits are rolling. It is, and you could kind of see when it locks into place with, he's mad because he's like, the second coming, really? Yeah, it's like, we stopped y'all from destroying everything the first time around, and now you're wanting to bring the Son of God into this, and destroy not just Earth, but like the entire universe. And then, he's sad because he realizes what that could mean for Crowley and his existence, but then he looks kind of happy. Like, no, I can do this. This is my chance to save Crowley and repay him for every time that he has saved me. And in the process, that means we can be together. So
maybe Aziraphale is being more pragmatic at this point.
I think so. I mean, when he first comes to tell Crowley about the job offer, it's more your stereotypical Aziraphale, where he's like, I can do good, which in Aziraphale's land is, I can create puppies and flowers and rainbows and all the happy stuff. I can, get Michael off of their power trip and do all these wonderful things, for the universe as the supreme archangel. But when he finds out that it's the second coming is what they're what they're working towards, that changes everything. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm still pissed that Aziraphale and Crowley do not end up together at the end of this season.
Same here, even though I felt it did very much feel like a middle chapter. This was not the end.
Yeah. And and being with the fandom and reading their comments and their fan theories on Twitter and Instagram, and seeing their questions to Neil on his Tumblr. If you're not following Neil, you don't have to be on Tumblr actually to be able to read the questions and Neil's answers. There are several Twitter fan accounts that handle that they will post those on Twitter. So if you're X, it's gonna be Twitter. So if you're a Twitter user, you can follow those. I think the Good Omens fan page I'm on too sometimes will post them as well. And also Neil's Facebook page. So there's lots of places that you can see Neil's answers to questions, and there were lots of some were just passionate, like, why, like, why would you do this to this? And Neil has essentially said that this was the plan the entire time. This is really planned to be like a 3-act structure. So this is the middle part. This is where, in traditional 3-act stories, plays, whatever, shit gets real in the second act. And in the third act, that's when the reaction to shit getting real occurs. And in theory, our hero, whoever that is, saves the day, and we end up with a happy ending.
Yeah, you get your resolution ultimately.
You get your resolution, and maybe not necessarily happy ending, but we're all hoping for a happy ending. And of course, Neil is not going to play his hand, especially this far out from whenever we're going to get season 3. But he referred to this as the quiet and romantic jam in the apocalypse sandwich.
There you go. Yep. So there's a piece of bread missing there.
Yes. Yeah.
The top slice is missing, or the bottom slice, according to whichever way you're making your sandwich.
Yeah. But yeah, the season 3, the plot is set. The very first episode and the end of the last episode are written. According to Neil, the rest is plotted. The overall story, he and Terry figured it out all the way back in 1989. And then the ending was decided by him and Terry in 2006. He did say, "I'm not promising you'll like it or even that it will be any good, but it's not going to change." That's the only caveat there.
Well, this is the end, then he just puts it out and be like, "Okay, there it is," and love it or hate it, that's it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But at this point, we're kind of stuck in a holding pattern. I mean, we would be waiting even without the strikes, because obviously, everyone that works on Good Omens has other jobs to do. But yeah, with the I think I posted it in our Facebook chat that one of Neil's answers, I think, to somebody's question about when we could potentially see season 3, he said 2026. Which seems so far from now.
But it's only 3 years, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And depends on what part of 2026.
I mean, if you think about it, we had a 4-year gap between season 1 and season 2.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's been that long. It didn't seem like that was that long, which, considering we had the pandemic in the middle of that, you would think it would have felt longer. So time means nothing to me now, really.
I will say this. A few days ago, I was kind of looking through some old journal entries because looking for something specific, and I had to look back at some stuff that was right after Alex was born. And I was like, oh, I remember writing this. It wasn't that long ago. Alex just started first grade. He just turned 6. So, yeah. Time is just rushing by, I swear. So, 3 years it'll be fine.
But yeah, I mean, 3 years technically between season 1 and season 2, so it makes sense to take another 3 years to do season 3.
Yeah, because it's a lot of that is the post-production, because it is so visual effects heavy.
Yeah, and like you said, Rachel, I guess everybody's also got other projects to take care of. Heck, we're still waiting on season 2 of Sandman from Neil Gaiman as well, amongst other things.
Yep. So there's it's going to be a bit of a wait, even once
don't get too antsy just yet.
Yeah, even once the strikes, reach some sort of resolution eventually. Yeah, it'll happen when it needs to, when it's supposed to happen. But it's not like we can't go back and watch the first 2 seasons. Although at this point, I've been sitting on it as a visual happy pill after this and reliving all this. I have staged season 3 still waiting for me to watch.
Same.
Yep.
It's like,
staged.
That's a thing.
And also, I don't know if this is a positive or a negative thing to say, but look, at least we have a season 3 to hopefully look forward to, because once season 3 comes, that'll probably be the end of it.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So at least we have more Good Omens to look forward to. Once season 3 is it, that might be the end for this show.
Yeah. It will be. I mean, there's always potentially the opportunity for little surprises every now and then. Look at, like, we got the little thing during the pandemic, which was just
the mini-sodes.
The little mini-sode during the pandemic where David and Michael, it's just their voices, but it's them talking on the phone, during the lockdown. So, and then just David and Michael being friends. Thankfully that bromance will have us to carry us over for the rest of our lives. So
exactly. I mean, look, and then I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, of course, but I guess then if season 3 is then the conclusive one, depending on how it ends, of course, because it might be even worse than this one, it might be even more heartbreaking. I don't know, but maybe then leave it to where it is and don't like make a million seasons where then it really gets bad. Like often happens with certain TV shows where it's like you could have stopped at season 4, but you decided to give us 5 other seasons, and it was rubbish.
Yep, been there, done that, and
we're all looking at you once upon a time.
Yep.
Or Arrow, or all the CW shows. Take your pick.
Yeah, all they want. It's like tell your story and be done. Like Once Upon a Time was great, and then it just kind of kept going and going, and that's the worst. In my opinion, that's the worst thing for a show to do is just be like, okay, we're just gonna hang around. We've already told all the stories that we had ideas for, but the network still wants us, so here you go. And it's like, oh, please don't do this anymore.
The BBC tends to be better in that sense compared to, I guess, American commercial TV, where they're like, we're going to give you 2-3 seasons at most, and that's it. Whereas you look at, mainstream American TV shows, they will go on 5, 6, 7, 20 seasons. Usually,
well, I think that's more network TV. The ones like your ABC, your NBC, your CBS. I think streaming has gotten us away from that a lot, just because they can do more with less, or they try to do tell more story with fewer episodes, or the showrunner or whoever's pitching. It's like, okay, this is how much story we have, and this is how much we're gonna do, and then we're good. Or Netflix, like people give Netflix crap for like, oh, you canceled this show too soon, and it's like, did they really? I don't think so.
I mean, unless the show was not cancelled, if that's where they wanted it to end, fair enough. If it got cancelled mid-story, then you have the right to be angry.
Yeah, well, I mean, geez, Netflix had they were like greenlighting stuff left and right, and who knows. But yeah, they kind of tend to just say, okay, this is it, we're done. And so
which is how it should be.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think some cable. It's funny. I was watching a video about like cable and network TV and streaming, and I was watching this earlier. It's kind of entertaining and a good kind of peek behind the curtain. But it was just kind of going on about how, like, why didn't networks do what cable and streamers did so well? And it's just because they get stuck in their ways and they get stuck in a mode, and it's like, nope, this is how we've always done it, and then they get lapped by everybody else because somebody else came up with something that worked better. And they're like, why isn't anybody watching our shows? I wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you all better hope that the sports leagues don't completely go to streaming services, because that's about all you guys still have. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I mean, I would love another season of Sherlock. I doubt we're getting it, but I think maybe it's better that way.
Yeah.
Maybe leave you wanting more rather than, this show has kind of overstayed its welcome.
Yeah. And if you did get that one more, how many shows have come back, quote unquote, come back after years and years? And you're like, oh, this isn't what I remember. This sucks.
Looking at you, Dexter.
Yeah. So sometimes it's okay to bow out gracefully than to keep the corpse alive, Weekend at Bernie's style. It's like, no.
As my mom says, leave the party laughing.
That should not be dug up.
Exactly. No, exactly. As my mom says, leave the party laughing.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And I agree. So awesome. Yep. Or not awesome, given how agonized some of you seem to be.
We're still not okay. I feel a little better though. Finally getting to be able to talk it out. So anybody else have anything else? Any final
parting words?
Parting thoughts?
I will say, 3 years go by in the blink of an eye, as even Chrissy was alluding to. I see it even with my niece. I can't believe she's 2 already, which is insane. And she's not even my kid, but she's my niece. And I'm like, how much you've grown. It's insane. But at the same time, I do hope that, as I mentioned before, the success of this show will bring, creative folks like Neil Gaiman and such to bring us, new shows that we've never seen before. Once again, I'm going to die on the hill of Discworld finally getting the TV show version it deserves. I mean, rather than rehash material, there's so much great stuff out there, and we have the technology we have these days. We can bring these stories to life and do them right. So that's my you should say pet peeve with entertainment today is rather than keep going back to the same well, bring out stuff that you've never done before. See what happens.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I mean, and
I've
really,
been screaming that for the last 5 years at least.
Yeah, I mean, with technology, it really, I don't think there's really a whole lot that can't be at least visually adapted. It may not be good, but I don't think there's just about anything that can't be adapted these days. I mean, it's been over 20 years since Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings, and those were not supposed to be adaptable. So yeah, if you can do Lord of the Rings, you should be able to do something like Discworld.
Oh yeah,
agreed.
I recently rewatched Jurassic Park. 93, guys.
That still
was made
holds
in
up.
93.
Yeah.
What is that? 30 years now.
Pretty much. Yep.
Brilliantly. So yeah, as long as you give your VFX or your special effects team enough time and enough and don't
enough money
around and enough money and don't sit there and be like, oh, you finished a scene, throw it out, we're going to do something completely different, as reportedly has been happening.
Yeah, more freedom to the creators than to the studio execs. It's the suits that tend to mess stuff up.
Get the suits out of the kitchen and let the cooks cook.
That's exactly it. Because they're the ones who care about these shows. That's, I think, the winning recipe is great visual effects and people who do care about what the show they're making. Yeah. And it's not
if you let the creatives do their thing, studios, you will make your money. Do not get your little fingers in the pie. You don't know what you're doing. Stop it.
Has been the problem with DC for the past 10, 15 years. But we won't open that can of worms tonight.
No, we won't. But it's been a topic of conversation even before the strike started. I
oh yes.
Yeah.
But you're talking about like, hey, we want to do these fantastical series as a TV show. We have the technology, and it's like, you just need certain people to get out of the way and let the technological wizards work their magic.
You're good with money. Do that.
Not you.
Yeah.
You're good at selling advertising.
Underneath the couch cushions, and let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And trust your people. Come on. Anyway, now that soapbox has been exhausted, and I know nobody who needs to hear it will listen, but makes me feel better. Anyway,
you will be surprised.
Okay. Well, anyway, to our listeners who are listening, thank you for listening. If you have anything you want to chime in about Good Omens or any of the news things we talked about earlier, or any of our other show topics, past, present, well, I don't know how you'd write about future ones, but there you go. If you are traveling to the future, let me know who won the Super Bowl so I can place a small something on that.
Well, we know it won't be Tom Brady, so
yeah.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I'm so tired of it. Don't get me on that either. So anyway, send us some feedback. That's what I'm trying to say. Send us some feedback about anything we've talked about. And our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefiveishfangirls.com, to find links to all of our social media places you can comment, rate, review, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff that helps you find us, helps us get connected. And any comments you leave on like our YouTube channel or our Facebook page or wherever, we treat those as feedback as well. So you're welcome to that as well. And if you find yourself in the position and you are willing to help us support us financially, we do have a Patreon. We also have a merch store, which has got some fun designs on bags and t-shirts and stickers and stuff like that. So check that out. And of course, we thank you for your support, for your comments, your feedback, any way that you interact with us. We're just glad that you're here listening to us waffle about Twizzlers instead of ripping the Band-Aid off. Seriously, I would have just kept reading just to prolong the inevitable.
Maybe it's I'll we'll put the link to that in the show notes so the bathroom reading, you find yourself
or if we need to come back
the website on your phone
topic.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're having there it is. I'm going to drop it in our little chat here.
Yeah. Let's say depending on how long these strikes go, we might have to start getting creative. So
we'll review the different flavors of Twizzlers. We can become Good Mythical Morning or something.
Yeah, really. Oh, bye. So yeah, definitely make sure you're following the social medias because I will be at Indie PopCon this weekend. So I will have a table in the vendor hall, which looking at the map, it looks like I'm going to be like smack dab in the middle of all the madness.
Nice.
So that's good, I guess. That also means I'm the furthest distance away from all bathrooms, but whatever. But it's equidistant, so that's good, I guess. And I will have, of course, business cards, and the Duff Tour will be there for booth security, along with goodie stickers for the kiddos. We have one more game, Fun and Games bundle to raffle off to help raise funds for our nonprofit. So that's exciting, especially because we just got some fresh stuff when I was at GenCon. So I have to decide how I'm going to divvy that out, because I am also doing Name That Geeky Tune.
That's right.
As a panel. So, and I would highly recommend. I did make a little graphic I will post that on the social medias in the next couple of days, my panel schedule. The dates and times should remain the same. However, the room, at least one of them, the room has changed like twice. So I would check like day of on the website for the most up-to-date schedule to know what room I'm gonna be in. So, but I'm doing your local library, More Than Just Books, on Friday, and then doing Name That Geeky Tune on Saturday, late in the afternoon, and I've got and Name That Geeky Tune is going to have a special PopCon twist to it, since PopCon is celebrating their 10th anniversary. So potential contestants, you might want to familiarize yourself with past and current PopCon guests. Celebrity guests. Just saying. So, and more specifically, some of the things they're associated with. So, shows, movies, and/or video games that they may be associated with, that I may be pulling music clips from. So, but I'm excited to do that this weekend as well, and also see all my friends, and also collect some more celebrity autographs and some photo ops too. So that's rather exciting. Add to my Marvel collection with Sean Gunn and Michael Rooker. Excited. And James Marsters. I have I came up. I try and decide what I want to do for James Marsters, especially for our photo op. And I came up with something rather funny.
Ooh.
I'm kind of excited. So I'm gonna have to go to Kinko's at some point this week, but yeah.
Man, now you got me thinking what you could be doing based on what he's
Yeah.
done.
Yep. So yeah, I'm excited. So yeah. Social medias, if you aren't going to be at PopCon, if you are going to be at PopCon, come by and see me. Come to the panels. Should be a good time. Nik, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank
As
you
always.
very
Yes,
much.
absolutely.
It was delightful. Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
This, unlike others, this therapy session was free. So
Appreciate the closure. Thank you very much.
yes.
Happy to be a therapy session.
Yeah.
It was sorely
So,
needed, believe you me.
Yeah. And of course, you can find DJ Nik at all the things. So, Gold Standard and the Happiness and Darkness, and I have our Whiskey and Cigarettes. That's a country show he does. So, find us in our sports ball chat whenever Inter is playing.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
And I was giving the rundown of the Packer game that night too. Yeah, so things happen.
Yeah, we're nerds.
Yeah, there is a lot going on indeed. Yes, and
Yes, there is. I hear Jordan Love is looking good, Holly.
Oh yes, he's looking good.
I'm excited. I'm so happy for him because he's been through some crap, and
oh yeah,
like I said before, he went to my alma mater. He was great during his college years there, and having him dragged into all the drama, I was not happy. But I'm glad he's getting a decent shot, and I'm glad Packers fans seem to be embracing him. So I'm like, yay, my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's call this therapy session closed, and
our time is up.
Our time is up. Our insurance will not cover anymore. So let's sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Boda saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm going to go put a record on my record player. Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefiveishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.